What's up, troopers? We are here for another TFT Mini. This time we are covering another element of the Imperial starter set. So this is the Scout Troopers. You get 2 units of those in the Imperial starter, which is a pretty good addition to that starter to give you a little bit of unit variety. The Scout Trooper has been in the game for quite a while. It has actually gone through decent number of changes. We're not going to get into all those, but it's certainly more interesting as a full unit with multiple weapon options than it used to be, which is a nice thing to be able to say about the game. But probably the first thing that I would point out is that it is like the Rebel Commandos, has the combination of Scout, low profile, and sharpshooter, and it also has a sniper option and a saboteur option, which we'll talk about. The Scout Troopers are pretty different from Commandos in a couple of sentences, though. The Rebel Commandos, I should say, because they have Scout 3, which is quite fast. And they don't have any kind of natural surging at all. There's an unnatural way to get some surging that we'll talk about at the end. But
on offense.
On offense, I should say, yeah. They do surge on defense with their not super impressive white dice. But I'd say that like the key feature of Scout Troopers, at least as a full unit, is that they can pack quite a punch up close. What do you think is the key thing to talk about in that sense, Mike?
These are 48-point mini sleeper cells is how you should think about these. No upgrades, no nothing.
Yeah.
You just kind of like, they go, they hopefully kill some stuff, and then they die. They're gonna die. They're
often
100% gonna die. This is definitely like if you're a Russian soldier on the Eastern Front, like this is probably same survival rate type situation, close to 0. I don't actually know what the survival rate is, but
if we're talking World War II, well, it wasn't great.
Yeah, not ideal.
Yeah.
But I think these share a lot of characteristics with the Rebel Trooper SX-21 squad, with how they want to move around the board,
Yeah.
and kind of operate. Range 2 is limiting. Scout 3 is helpful to get there. You want to hide these guys behind a line of sight blocker that is like pretty close to a POI, and then pop out while scoring the POI, shoot something, and hope your low profile holds you down, right?
Yep.
And this is also a unit that probably shouldn't work on the table on its own, as opposed to like sometimes other units that... This unit is probably the closest to Sleeper Cell and Range 2 ARC Troopers. Both of those units, as opposed to this unit, definitely can like hold down a point against one other unit by itself. I would not recommend that with Scouts.
No. Yeah. When if they're being approached by certainly anything that has any melee options, then they become an extraordinarily killable unit. But even then, like I recently played a game where I had a bunch of scouts in Tempest Force, and I was up against a bunch of Geonosians, and they all got on higher terrain than me and just like rained down their shots, and it was not a fun situation to be in. So they definitely rely on getting those low profile saves to try to keep them afloat, and so just be careful with them. Unlike with Sleeper Cell, they're not going to be able to like charge in, get their dodge token, and like hold down the fort.
Yeah.
Like they can charge in, but they won't be holding down the fort for very long. Speaking of charging in, let's talk about their weapon options. And the first one we'll talk about, the Sonic Charge Saboteur, used to be a little bit of a meme in Legacy Legion, and now is more of an actual option, given that it is, instead of being a mine token, it's a melee to range 1 with 4 dice. It's a decent 4 dice also. It's 1 red, 2 black, and 1 white, with blast and impact 2 and suppressive, quite a few keywords. It is 23 points. It's certainly cheaper than the sniper that we'll talk about in a second. But what are your thoughts on the saboteur, Mike?
I think the saboteur is very niche and
Yes.
takes a unit that is foundationally built on being hyper efficient for its cost. That is what the scout trooper unit is. It is just a hyper efficient
Yes.
thing that will die. The sonic charge saboteur basically takes that efficiency and makes it like a lot worse. It does,
In exchange for an alpha strike that is a lot better.
yes, I think if you are able to reliably, if you play on very dense tables, I think sonic charge saboteur is decent.
Yeah.
If you are reliably getting your scouts shot before they take their first shot, you should avoid this upgrade with all. Just don't even look
Yeah,
at
just don't.
because, and the other thing is that you got to close to 1 really to make this like super good. Like this sonic charge saboteur can still use the holdout blaster, right? So that's decent.
Yeah.
10 black is obviously like we're talking arc pool at this point without the aims, and surges, which is still decent. Like you're gonna find 5 probably.
Yeah.
That's the average, right? So not terrible, but I would say that this upgrade takes the unit and kind of like defeats the point a little bit of making it like a hyper efficient activation. Part of the good thing about the scouts being 48 points is you can kind of toss them in as activation padded.
Yes. And if you're spending 71 points, then you're no longer in the activation padding zone.
Yeah, you are the more expensive than a core unit in Empire territory at that point, right? Which is with a core unit with a heavy weapon. So you are giving up a lot of, and the offensive potential is not that different considering the core units will survive a lot longer.
Yep, absolutely. By comparison, we have the DLT 19X Sniper, and I think that this is also where we will at least mention the existence of the strike team option for Scout Troopers. The game sure has changed where we see full Scout Troopers substantially more often than strike teams in the current version of the game, whereas in the past, the strike teams was pretty much exclusively what you would see. So like as with any strike team, it's nice with the fact that it's detachment and therefore it doesn't actually affect your available special forces slots. And so it in and of itself is okay activation padding. It's 58, which is notably 10 points more than the full squad. And it doesn't surge. The Pierce 1 is cool. High velocity is obviously cool sometimes, but I'll be honest, Meg, it's been a while since I've seen a strike team out there for Scout Troopers.
Yeah, I think this is the most likely thing that's going to change about this unit in the future, I think, is
Probably
the points cost of the sniper rifle. That goes for all the sniper rifles across the game.
Yeah.
This is maybe a good time to talk about that. I think, when the game first came out, they probably overvalued and or were very cautious with how sniper rifles interacted with the new cover rules.
Yep.
Not a bad thing, but it does put you in a situation where this upgrade is basically not takeable on either version of these units.
Yeah, I agree. What's funny to me about the DLT 19X Sniper is that the most common context in which it is taken in Imperial armies is actually on a stormtrooper in Imperial remnant.
Yes.
So that's just how it works right now.
It's like a super expensive DLT that has Pierce.
Yeah, exactly.
And just worse than a normal DLT.
Yeah, and so even then one might say that it's not the best buy in the world, but it certainly feels rough on this white save unit.
And I do want to just for those out there that are like, no, the sniper's pretty good. I just want because there's going to be some of you out there.
Sure.
I want to just make the comparison of the clone trooper shotgun, which is also maybe too expensive. I don't know. It's sort of quite, we could maybe talk about that in a later episode. But
yeah,
the clone trooper shotgun is 2 red Pierce 1. at range 2, and if you are putting the sniper in the range 2 version in the like full squad, like you are basically just adding a 2 black Pierce 1 shotgun to the pool, and this
Right.
is twice as expensive and like way less survivable. It's just yeah.
Because in that full squad, you're not going to want to waste time taking a range 5 only shots when you need to actually like get in there to get the utility out of your big dice pool.
Yeah,
And
if
so
you're
it
gonna
creates a perverse incentive in some way.
yeah, if you're gonna put, is it what, 96, 80, 86, right? 86 points for the
86,
full
that's
squad
correct. Yeah.
with the sniper. Like
Whoa.
it's so expensive.
Oh my God.
Like it's more than a sleeper cell with like an astromech, I think, at that point, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's like in the, so that's in the zone of Imperial Special Forces. I mean, it's less than an ISF or Inferno, but it's only 12 points less than Inferno. It's only 12 points less than an ISF with a T21, and even they aren't really seeing a ton of play right now. So to be investing that much onto a unit that is as killable as this feels pretty rough. So I would just like skip past the sniper rifle if I were y'all right now.
Yes, 100%.
For upgrades, I think that I'm going to skip training for now because I think the most relevant training one, in my opinion, is one that is Battle Force limited. For comm slot, I think that there's like kind of an argument for hacked comms to at least get face ups on them when they're in danger. But again, it gets to this concept of investing points into something that is meant probably to be more on the fodder zone.
Yeah, I think the thing that you want to be doing with the comms, if anything, is the emergency transponder. Empire
That's right.
honestly just like doesn't really give these guys orders ever, so you can pretty much always have it on. The aim token on the 8 non-surging black dice is always going to be used. Like you're not really going to
you're gonna get utility out of it.
Yeah, and it kind of fits in with their like one shot and then we're dead kind of role.
Right.
Like
yeah. Yeah,
so.
I think emergency transponder does make sense, and it's worth noting that there is a little bit of an extra incentive to put a comms on the Scout Troopers if you're playing Tempest, because that then excludes them from the rule of needing to be close to a commander in order to get rid of their suppression tokens at the end of a round. So it's at least something else to consider when you're including that one. Gear is basically like environmental gear if you have like 2 points left, is because it's weirdly something that they don't have. For being scouts, they're scouts that trip over logs, which is sort of funny. But anything else that you think, I really can't see anything.
I could see maybe doubling down on the transponder and giving them scopes, but I wouldn't recommend it.
That's
like at that point,
a lot of points.
Again, like we're talking about like your efficiency is quickly deteriorating here.
Yeah,
so
exactly. And then as far as grenades go, if you're going for a saboteur build, then adding frags wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It would make that pool substantially more effective by giving it surge to crit.
Yep.
And you're getting extra value out of like going in for that range 1 shot. It's just, again, not to repeat ourselves too often, but if you're going in for a big range 1 shot where you're not going to be protected by melee at the end of it, they are going to die shortly after that, because your opponent is not going to want to take another range 1 shot for them, and the best way to prevent that is to just murder all of them, which is not that hard when they're rolling white saves.
Yep.
All right, so I think that it'll be good to cover the Battle Force use cases for them. I've basically already said almost as much as there's to say about Tempest. Like when you're playing Tempest, the Scout Troopers are functionally your core troopers in the way that most other armies use core troopers. It's true that for some reason, I guess, to kind of keep with the canon of what the Battle of Endor was, they still force you to bring 1 stormtrooper unit along with the Scout Troopers, but it's the Scouts that you can bring up to 6 of them if you want. There's basically there's basically two Tempest builds as far as scouts go. Either you're just like tossing 3 naked ones in there to be activations and to hold on to points. There are builds that are going to have like fewer vehicles and that are truly going all in on the scout troopers, and then like those builds may even have like a couple medic droids on the stormtroopers or something. It's a thing that you can do. There's some folks experimenting out there who've had some success with it, but that would definitely be a high skill list and not the sort of thing you would want to be diving into without a lot of practice. They're usually like functionally naked core in Tempest. It's worth mentioning quickly that Tempest Force does have a funky infiltrate option where you can pick one unit to place it basically wherever you want as long as it's more than range 2 away from the opponent. There's sometimes you're not going to want to use that at all, but there are certain times where if you put it in a place that's going to be very, very protected by the terrain and it'll be forward moved. It's just important to remember that if you do that, it doesn't actually get to do anything on round 1. It just has to kind of stick there. Yeah. The more interesting thing to talk about, in my opinion, with Scout Troopers is Remnant. And Remnant, from a army construction standpoint, they count as core.
Yep.
What that means is that you can put a relatively new upgrade as we record this conversation. Imperial March, you can put that on them because, again, you're pretending their core during the army construction phase. And then on top of that, you can put a heavy weapon from whatever available Imperial heavy weapons you want, which includes all the storms, all the shores, darks, and, of course, the scouts. But this is an example where there is a very big incentive to take a stormtrooper weapon, specifically the T-21. Why is that, Mike?
Because it's cheaper than the Sonic Charge Saboteur. gives them critical, so they are Surge of Surging.
Critical 2 even.
Critical 2, and it's the same amount of dice. Additionally, because they're in Remnant, they generally are picking up a name token on top of all that. So they kind of like do a little bit of a sleeper cell arc compression on turn 1.
Yep.
And it's 12 dice, you know. It's definitely, it's pretty good. It's also pretty cheap. You can run it with March or without it. March definitely makes it harder to avoid that shot, for sure.
Yeah. And if you're not careful with them, they're still going to die after that. It's like Remnant. Remnant does give them, maybe you might take a dodge token after you do that to have them live a little bit longer. So that can help them, of course, along with low profile. And at least compared to the Saboteur version, like they can be taking that shot at range 2 compared to the Saboteur version where you basically have to do it at range 1, which makes them extra vulnerable. So they're not quite as mega killable as the dive in and Saboteur version. Yeah,
and it's reasonable on turn 1 to be like, if you're on breakthrough, to like move, shoot, and then like hide behind something.
Yeah.
So on the closer deployments, this unit gets a lot better.
Yeah, because just in case it wasn't clear, they have their natural Scout 3, and then the way Imperial March works, they will have already done a move, which means that their move action can be it'll be speed 3. And then on top of that, I guess like that would be it, because they can't be ruthless by Gideon, because they're not, like, at that point they're not core troopers anymore.
Correct.
And so, but like 2 speed 3 moves will
fairly
often put you into range 2 zone.
Yeah.
So that will get you pretty far. So yeah, like Scout Troopers are nice because there's a wide variety of ways to use them. One will hope that the strike team variety will become a little bit more viable as the game goes on. And then maybe we'll have to like issue a little bit of correction with this video, but for now, I think that they still have multiple uses and they're a worthy inclusion in many, many different types of armies out there. So with that, I think we're going to wrap this one up. Thanks for watching. Please consider checking out our Patreon if you like what we're doing here, and we will see you in the next TFT Mini.